Testing. All right, guys, we are live. We're doing a mini grill stream today, sort of a midweek grill stream. And if you caught my last grill stream, it was basically focusing around how to grill a thin steak. And so I used a Walmart American Wagyu New York strip, and unfortunately, it didn't quite turn out as well as I wanted it to, mainly because I had used um, charcoal. Again, sort of, which is not necessarily the problem. The problem was essentially I left the charcoal in there for a little too long, and I didn't add any more additional charcoal um, prior to me actually doing the searing part. So basically, what happened was here. Let me turn on my yeah. Um, so basically, what happened was, um, I mean, I basically just didn't have quite the temperature that I wanted when I was trying to sear. Like the actual ambient temperature was maybe close to 300 or 350. And you definitely need to go a lot higher when you're doing a sear. So um, now, because this is the weekday, I typically don't use the charcoal option here just because it takes longer to have a gas grill as well. So I use a Napoleon Road 425 SB, I believe. And check out the temperature right now. I'm not sure if you can see that, but this is kind of getting to that 600, 650 range. And that's exactly what you want for searing. Um, so let's check out our spread today. Um, you may also remember from over the weekend, we essentially did a thin steak with chimichurri, and so what I decided to do was there was still plenty of the sauce left over from that stream, and so what I wanted to do was use the leftover chimichurri to essentially do a like a chimichurri marinade, basically. Um, and so what we have here is a flank steak. So again, flank steak again is another steak that I would kind of classify as a thin steak. Let me see if I can get sort of the side view here. So again, it's not even like an inch thick here, but again, uh, it's still sort of very sort of good, obviously. And again, I wanted to essentially kind of do myself a favor here and essentially do another version of the thin steak just to, I guess, one sort of show that I can do it. But again, also use a slightly different method to cook it because again, I know like a lot of you guys watching have a gas grill. Like you probably have a Weber. Um, and like there's absolutely nothing wrong with Webers. In fact, I fully support Weber. That that mini mini sort of Weber that you see down here. So this was sort of what I was using for charcoal previous to getting the Kamado Joe. And again, if if you only need one grill and like you don't mind waiting a little bit for your food to heat up, or sorry, your grill to heat up, then definitely just get one of those cheap mini sort of Weber charcoal grills. So that's really all you need. But they do sell it's like they do sell sort of slightly larger versions of that grill for like $100 like a Home Depot. So that's literally all you need if you only want one grill. Now again, I'm crazy. I have gas. I have a Traeger smoker, and then I have this as well. Um, but again, that's a lot of talking here. I don't know if we have anybody join the chat yet. No, I don't think we have. No worries there. I kind of threw this up at the last second, so not expecting a huge crowd. But um, anyway, now that this, now that the grill is properly hot now, Okay, so like now we're getting into like the 650 range. That's plenty hot. Let's go ahead and uh, clean our surface here, because typically the best time to clean your grilling surface is either like straight after you grill something, or right before you grill something new, while you let it like heat up, basically. Um, so again, this is a Napoleon. So I mean, I went with this brand over sort of Weber just because they have some nicer features. Like for example, they have sort of like this backlit, or not sort of backlit necessarily, but like they have sort of these heaters that are in the very back, and this is for like, let's say that you want to do like some wings back here, so you can actually sort of hang the wing. Actually, I just realized I actually have this in backwards from the last time I cleaned it. So like the idea is these little slots here can actually hold wings for you. Um, if you want to do something like a jalapeno popper, you can put them in like these holes here. So there's a lot of options. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I went with this grill. Again, we're not necessarily using that option today, but there's also a side burner here, and I'm going to pick this plate up real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't necessarily clean this, but this is also sort of like a sear station as well. So this can get up to like 800 to like 1,000 degrees temperature, and this is using a infrared cooker here. So if I were to turn this on real quick, get the heat going, there you go. So this will get hot crazy fast, crazy quick. But we're not using that today, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that up. But I probably should do a steak on that sometime, just in the near future. But anyway, we've kind of cleaned up the surface as best as we can. What I'm going to do now is go back to our spread here. We're going to be doing corn as well as a few sort of bell peppers here. So what I'm actually making is sort of a orzo pasta with sort of like the chimichurri steak, with corn and sort of diced red pepper. It's like the recipe that I was looking at also called for some zucchini, but again, I like zucchini to be like really crunchy. Really, really sort of honestly, like with any sort of veggies, I like them to be crunchy, and um, I don't like them like when they're like super soft, and I feel like um, it's very easy to kind of mess up a zucchini and like it make it soft. But again, I do like zucchini like more like in Asian dishes. So anyway, that's enough blabbing here. We're first going to start with the steak, and I'll kind of throw that on and kind of walk through how to properly do a, uh, a thin steak on a grill, um, and then we'll start to throw these on a little bit later. But let's go back to the grill real quick. So one thing I want to just point out first. When you're doing a steak of sort of any kind, I typically like to do a hot zone and a cool zone, or direct and indirect. Direct means that you are cooking over literal open flames. Indirect means that you have either very low heat, or the burner is completely off. Why do you want that setup? Well, um, when you're searing, you want direct heat. You want sort of like the full blast that your grill can do. And then let's say that you're grilling a thicker steak. You don't necessarily want to leave the steak on for like the whole time over the direct flame. You want to like evenly cook the interior at a lower temperature, and that's where the indirect side comes from. So again, so what I tell people is, if you only have a gas grill, set the right two burners. Again, so don't worry about these two sort of smaller ones. Set the right two burners up to full blast. See, these are again sort of going full blast, and then I typically leave this third one off. Now, if I was cooking a thicker steak, I would essentially throw this on, just get a nice sear, and then immediately throw it over here, so that the carryover heat from this side will cook the internals of the steak, but not necessarily cook the outside any further. Um, Now, with a thin steak, you really only need these two burners. Like, you really don't even need this third side here. Um, you basically just need to worry about the sear with a thin steak. Again, a thin steak is something that is, or a steak that is like about an inch or less in terms of thickness. Um, so, what we'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and slap the. Actually, let's check the temperature. Okay, okay. So we almost made like the same mistake that I made last time. This was getting closer back down like just like 300, like the 250 range, because I had the lid open. So let's give this another 30 seconds or maybe even like a minute or so to get back up to that's like that searing range, and then we'll be ready to throw the steak on and then actually do the sear. Um, so again, so this is rising pretty quickly here. Again, maybe just another 20 seconds or so, and we'll be back at the range that we want to be at. While we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and bring over our sort of a spread here, right? So I didn't really season these guys with anything necessarily. I mean, like, you really don't, I guess, have to, because I'm going to do most of the seasoning in the pan. Like, okay, like, let's just sort of going back to like the dish itself. I'm going to do like an orzo pasta with steak, and then some corn, and then some red bell pepper. I will probably like actually cut the kernels off of the corn here, and then throw that into my sort of orzo pasta. I'll dice these up, and I'll throw that into the pasta, and then just kind of toss it all at the end. So again, I'm not too concerned about like seasoning these now. They'll be seasoned later when I actually uh, put these into the pot and sort of like the pan, and sort of do that piece. But anyway, we're getting close to back just like that searing range. Maybe just another 30 seconds to go. Again, when it gets higher in sort of temperature, I think it's a bit tougher for it to get back to sort of the range that we had it before. Um, but we'll give that just another moment here. I might actually go grab a little bit of olive oil and just kind of throw it on here real quick. So what I'll do, let me go around here and just kind of give you guys that view real quick. I'm gonna go in and just grab a few things real quick. Okay, so I know I said that I said like it doesn't really matter if we season right now, but I saw this seasoning as I was walking by, so I think I will just toss a little bit of salt on here. This is already salted pretty well, so you don't really need that. So I'll just kind of finish it off there. Let's throw on some oil and a little bit of pepper too. Whoops, did not mean to hit you guys. Sorry about that. And again, I can sort of imply more seasoning, like sort of like after it's on the grill and whatnot. But again, I think that was a good call there. So let's go back around and check our temperature. We are pretty much right where we want to be, at that sort of searing range. So what I'll do now, this real quick. I'm going to set you guys down here and just make sure that we're at a good angle there. I think that'll be good. Let me spray some nonstick real quick. We are ready to rock and roll. So we've got this on right now. Again, we'll focus on these things later, but again, let's just focus on the actual steak itself right now. I'm going to turn this into landscape too. I just realized. I'm sorry, um, but again, we're on sort of high heat now, and so we'll just give this um, maybe about 30 seconds, and then I'll kind of do a crosshatch pattern by sort of turning it about 45 degrees or so. Now, normally at this point, I would ask everybody how they're doing, sort of how's their week going, but unfortunately, we don't have anybody today. So it's just me and the camera. But again, people will watch this back later on, and that'll be great. Let's go ahead and flip this. So we flip this about 45 degrees, and so that's going to give us a nice sort of a crosshatch pattern again. So we'll give that another 30 to 45 seconds or so. Again, with the sort of like the thinner steaks, you really only care about how it looks on the outside, because by the time that you pull it off, you know, and sort of if you do rest it for a little bit, then sort of like that carryover cooking is going to bring it up to like a um, nice sort of medium rare. So let's go ahead and flip and see how we did. All right, so we got some nice grill marks there. And again, we're going to give this, 45 seconds ish. We'll do another 45 degrees. And then from there, I might flip it just a couple more times just to get the overall sort of look that I want. Um, and then from there, we'll pull it off, and then we'll let it sort of rest a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and give this that sort of crosshatch pattern. And I'm actually going to, I think I'll actually go get a plate to just sort of put this on, because I don't want to put this on where it was previously, because that's, you know, not uh, not a great move. So again, I'll go grab a plate real quick, and then we'll see how this is looking. All right, I'm back. We've got a plate. Let's see how this other side looks real quick. So I definitely think we could use a bit more time on that other side. Let's keep it over there, and let's let it really bake in. Again, we're on full blast down here. Um, I think I'll actually close the lid for just like 30 seconds or so, just to have sort of like the nice sort of evenness in the middle. By the way, this is the olive oil I use, Grazia. It's definitely good, but I don't think it's like the best out there. I think there's one called Luciano, or something like that. That definitely tastes better in flavor, but again, um, I think there's two types of olive oils. You know, there's like definitely like the kind that like you cook with and whatnot. But ultimately, I think there's also like finishing olive oil. You know, so let's say that you have a pizza or maybe you have pasta, and you want a nice olive oil to put on like a sort of like a finishing garnish. That's when you break out the nicer stuff. I think for sort of everyday cooking, this is perfectly fine. But just a quick watch check too. I'm wearing the Datejust today, so let's go back, check how this is looking. I still think it could use a bit more color. Um, so let's leave it there for now. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any kind of like grill stream this weekend. I actually have a few plans. I'm going to like a food and wine festival Saturday, and then of course my Tennessee Vols take on the uh, the Oklahoma Sooners. So that's going to be a really good game. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to do a grill stream this weekend unless I do a Sunday grill stream. But again, that's still to be determined. Let's kind of move it around a little bit. Now, so one thing that like you guys did notice, I did keep like a lot of like the marinade on. So like there's some marinades like you can keep on versus ones that you may just want to take off. Um, so one thing I did was I kind of did sort of like a halfway solution here. I shook off any sort of excess chimichurri sauce that was on there, and sort of what sort of stuck to the end. Um, I mean, I just kept it on there for the flavor. So it's definitely looking better, but I still want a bit more color on that. I will check the internal real quick. So we're like 118 right now, 116. Um, Typically, I'll pull this off around like 128, 129 ish to get to that sort of 135 sort of internal. Um, so I think probably what I'll do honestly is I'll just keep flipping this until we get to that point and until we kind of get that nice sort of you know golden brown sort of color. Let's just kind of flip it over for a moment so that like the other side does get some love too. I know like we don't have Evan G in the chat right now, but he did use his big green egg. I believe it was this sort of past weekend, and he made some pizzas on it. So if you're not following Evan G, definitely go check him out. I mean, again, he's not like some like crazy griller like me, um, but he does have one, and again, he will sort of use it from time to time, I guess, for guests and whatnot. But um, now, another question I get asked, is like, hey, is it okay to have sort of flare ups? And again, so flare ups are sort of like what you just saw just like a moment ago, sort of where the steak or where like the flame does kind of sort of peek through like that. Let me flip one more time. So flare-ups are I think fine sort of every so often, like they do give a little bit more flavor, but they're mostly caused when fat content drips down into the actual sort of flame itself, and that's what will kind of force the flare-ups like to happen. Now, if this entire thing was having sort of all kinds of flames sort of going on all the time, and like the flame was actually touching the meat sort of all the time, then that may be a little bit too much, and that can definitely give you a bit more char than you want. But again, just like a one that sort of pops up sort of every so often isn't bad. Now, there are these sort of bars here that you kind of see in the middle, so you can't actually see the flame because of those bars. And the purpose of those bars is to actually um, like kind of get rid of the possibility of flare-ups. But again, sometimes they will still happen. So, all right, so we're getting some nice marks here now. Let me move that back. And let's check the temperature one more time. We're probably getting close to that 125 sort of one, sort of like the high sort of. Yeah, okay. So we're definitely good to pull this off here. I will put this on my uh, plate there, and then now we're going to focus on the veggies. So let's actually hose this down a little bit more. I will kind of clean off the surface just a little bit here too. And let's slap these guys on. So when you're buying corn at the store, or at like your local sort of market, um, I would recommend getting corn that's still on the cob. It's like the kind of like you still have to shuck. I think sort of any steps that they do for you, where like it's like pre-packaged and like it's like sort of pre-shucked. I think that kind of takes away some of the flavor. Like same thing with like pre-chopped garlic. Like don't bother with that. Honestly, I think when you let someone else do the processing for you, I think that takes away from the flavor. Um, now, now, sort of an exception to this is when you let your butcher actually trim up your brisket for you. That's fine. That's fine. But I think it's like the moment that you like chop up, like say like pre-chopped like green onions, like or pre-chopped veggies or whatever. The moment that you do that, it kind of takes away from the overall flavor, and I wouldn't recommend uh, that. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put on this sort of hot glove here. Actually, let's put this down for a moment. So these will take a little bit of time to do, but again, sort of all I'm looking for is mostly just sort of color, right? Just a few sort of burnt kernels. Um, and one thing that will kind of speed that up is a bit more oil. And I think I will put on a little bit more pepper here too. So let's put you guys down for a moment. Almost 30 minutes in, we still don't have people. A little bit sad, guys. Gotta pump up those numbers. Let's check on our bell peppers here. I think we can actually move these a bit closer to the fire here. Let's check okay. So we're starting to get a little bit of color on that. But I think what I'll do, honestly, let's just leave these guys under the hood for a bit, so that they can kind of cook internally too. So also plus, sort of while we had that open for quite some time, uh, sort of like some like the temperature definitely went down quite a bit, and so that's why we're not seeing that. That's sort of like those nice little char marks just yet. So I'm going to keep this under here for maybe just like a few minutes, and then we'll come back and check on that. One thing I think we can do is is the steak has been resting for a few minutes now, so I think it would be interesting to see uh, what that looks like internally. So I'm gonna here I'll give you a quick view of that, and I'm gonna go get a cutting board real quick, and then we can cut into this and see how we do it. So I'll be right back. So I'll take you guys over here. I've got a cutting board. I'm gonna figure out the best angle here. What I might end up doing actually is do something like this, and I'll take you guys down. Yeah, let's do that. So again, so this is kind of resting here on the side um, for about sort of 5 minutes or so. Let me just make sure that looks. Yeah, so that's pretty good. So one thing that we really need to address first. Notice how the grains are going like this, sort of sort of running sort of this way. Um, you need to cut sort of perpendicular to the grains, but if just to make this a little bit easier, you can do one cut straight down the middle first, but then you got to turn it. So let's just kind of take a look at that real quick. So that's a little bit more than I wanted, unfortunately, but let's do perpendicular real quick. All right, let's try it. Still juicy, definitely good stuff. But again, just a little too cooked for my liking. But again, still good though. You know what? Like it actually shows up better on camera, so that's good. You know, like honestly, I mean, it may just be my lighting that sort of throwing this off a little bit, but definitely still good though. So, um, you know, I think I'll actually put this in the kitchen real quick. But before we do that, let's go back and see how our corn is doing. So we're starting to get some nice char marks there. I think I will put on the glove one more time here. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Some nice char. All right, so these are definitely done too. Um, what we'll do is with this is I kind of treat it like the same way like I did like the cherry. I'll scrape off like the char, and then we'll only use sort of like the actual meat side of it. So let's get another plate here. Kind of hard to get a plate when you have a glove on, but let's do this. Put the plate right there. Again, I'm not really too concerned about getting the other side cooked. It's mainly just sort of getting that char, and then we're just going to kind of scrape off any of like the burned parts. But so these corns, or these sort of ears of corns, are still good. I'm going to take both of the both this sort of like the red bell pepper as well as the steak back inside real quick, and I'll let you guys watch the corn real quick. Fortunately, still nobody in the chat, but that's all right. Show me some love, guys. Show me some love. These are morning, so we're gonna let that cook just a bit more. And let's close the lid. So let me actually flip the camera. Here's me, upside down. All right, now I'm right side up. So um, again, I think I'll probably go ahead and like start to wrap up here. Um, so I mean, I did actually look at the steak inside, and it looked way better. I I definitely think that like there's something up with like the lighting out here that just makes the steak look uh, like way more done than it actually is. So I think sort of looking back to the stream that I did over the weekend, like the steak. Oh man, I really overdid it. So, um, but I mean, I will definitely like look back at this stream and see how it looked on camera, and I think sort of that will kind of sort of reassure myself. Pretty much everybody here is going to be watching this after it um, went live. Unfortunately, I don't think we had anybody join us here today live, but that's all right. Again, this is a weekday stream. It's not something I normally do, so I guess people weren't necessarily, expecting it, right? So, um, but again, everybody in as they will suspect may or may not do another stream this weekend, but we'll see how that goes. Again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.